Today, it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. We've got that YouTube audiobook excerpt, to kind of remind everyone of the main points, but we're going deeper this time. How can Rich Dad, Poor Dad's philosophy actually work in your life?
Yeah, this book's a classic. It really is. And it's not just about specific tips. It's about changing your whole view of money. Kiyosaki's big thing is moving from working for money to money working for you.
Right, and he kicks it off with those two dads, doesn't he?
Exactly.
You got his real father, the poor dad, who's all about that steady job, work your way up. And then the friend's dad, Rich Dad, who's totally into entrepreneurship. I think lots of us heard those kind of competing ideas growing up.
Oh, for sure. And the cool thing is how Kiyosaki uses that to show how differently they think. Poor Dad is like the classic story, good education, safe job, climb the ladder. But Rich Dad is like, nope, create your own opportunities. It's not about a paycheck. It's about assets that make money on their own.
Like that story with the lead nickels.
Oh, yeah. He's told, make money. So being a kid, he's resourceful.
Yeah.
Back then, toothpaste tubes are lead, right?
Yeah.
So him and his friend, they melt them down, make fake nickels, talk about entrepreneurial.
And his real dad is like, what are you doing? But Rich Dad sees the kids thinking outside the box, not afraid to hustle.
Totally different views, right?
Shifted.
One sees risk, the other sees the chance to learn, maybe make some cash. And this leads right into Kiyosaki's big lesson. Rich people, they don't work for money.
Not that they don't work, but they get their wealth from things that make money without them working all the time, right?
Like, imagine planting a tree. You work hard at the start, but then it gives you fruit for years, even when you're not doing much.
Yeah.
That's the power of assets.
And that's where the rat race comes in. Kiyosaki says most of us are stuck, working for the paycheck, paying bills, never getting ahead.
He says it's fear driving us. Fear of not having enough, fear of losing money, keeps you in a job you might hate, just to buy stuff you maybe don't even need.
Which brings us to, I think, one of the biggest things in the book, assets versus liabilities. Kiyosaki really turns things upside down here. An asset puts money in your pocket, a liability takes it out. Seems obvious, but...
Yeah, but then he's like, is your house really an asset? What you think, right?
Because, sure, it might go up in value, but you've got mortgage payments, property taxes, repairs.
If those costs are more than what you gain, or if owning that house stops you from investing in other stuff that makes money, then it could actually be holding you back.
Which links to minding your own business. This doesn't have to mean starting a company. It's more about building that asset column, whether it's real estate, stocks, whatever makes money for you.
Like Ray Kroc, McDonald's guy, right? He wasn't rich just from burgers. It was owning the land under those McDonald's.
Kroc knew owning the real estate was the foundation. It made money no matter how many burgers they flipped.
Smart thinking. So it's not just hard work. It's working smart to build wealth.
And Kiyosaki takes it further with corporations. He's big on how they can save you on taxes, protect your assets.
Yeah, he doesn't get into the legal stuff, but he's like, learn about corporations. Knowledge is power, especially with money.
Interesting how he uses Robin Hood for this. Calls him a crook, basically, because Robin Hood stole from the rich, and Kiyosaki is saying those rich guys were using corporations so they didn't get hit with huge taxes.
Makes you think, huh? It's like the wealthy use the system in ways most folks don't even know about.
Right. And this leads to his idea of building financial IQ.
He breaks it down. Accounting, investing, knowing the markets, and the law. These are the skills you need for wealth, but they're not taught in school, usually.
So you got to go out and get that knowledge yourself.
Like that story about Kiyosaki in Phoenix, when the market crashed. He bought real estate dirt cheap because he understood what was happening, made a quick profit.
Shows how knowing your stuff can help you, even when the economy is bad. But of course, there's stuff that holds people back, too.
Oh yeah, those roadblocks. Kiyosaki gets into that.
We'll dive into those right after the break.
Sounds good. So Kiyosaki's not talking about some magic formula when he says how to get started.
Yeah, it's not like, do these 3 steps and you're rich.
That's more like taking action, even small steps.
Consistently over time.
Right, and building up your knowledge, your skills.
He's big on having a strong why for wanting wealth, too.
Not just, I want to be rich, but like...
What's it for?
Oh.
Freedom, opportunity, stuff like that.
That keeps you going when it gets tough.
Because it will, right. Building anything worthwhile takes effort.
He's also big on controlling your time.
Most of us, we trade time for money, working for someone else's dream.
He wants you to break out of that.
Build those assets that make money for you. Then you choose how to spend your time.
It's autonomy.
And to get there, learn. He never stops saying that.
Take classes, read, seminars, whatever works.
I think he even says go to at least 2 financial courses a year. He's serious about it.
He's always learning himself. Investing in your knowledge, that's one of the best investments.
Totally. He also has that advice that kind of threw me off at first about making lots of offers.
Yeah, not just for real estate, any investment.
So you gotta be proactive, put yourself out there, negotiate.
The more you do it, the more likely you are to find those hidden gems, those deals nobody else sees.
Like anything, practice makes perfect.
It trains your mind, too, to spot opportunities.
He even says, like, jog or drive through an area regularly, just looking for potential investments.
Might sound weird, but it's about noticing the changes, the deals, before anyone else does.
You're building your deal spotting muscles.
Exactly. And that ties into his thing about looking in the right places.
Not just the obvious stuff everyone's going for.
Be unconventional. Be willing to haggle.
Like when he bought that property at a foreclosure auction for like nothing compared to what it was worth.
Resourcefulness. Knowing where to look can make all the difference.
And having a good broker, someone who's actually for you, not just trying to make a sale.
Someone who educates you about the market.
You gotta have the right people on your team.
Yeah. He also says, and this is interesting, find people who want to buy first, then look for someone selling.
That's backwards from how most folks do it.
It's about creating the market instead of waiting around.
So proactive, strategic.
And learn from history, he says. Study the economic cycles, how markets have done in the past.
So you can make better choices today.
Seeing the patterns, how things go up and down.
And for stocks, he's big on stop orders.
Those are like computer commands. Sell your stock if the price drops too low.
So you limit your losses, especially when things are crazy.
Takes out the emotion, lets you set clear boundaries.
He also says to watch for people selling for emotional reasons.
Because emotions can tank prices. Create bargains for those who stay calm and look at the numbers.
Seeing the opportunity in the chaos.
And learn to read financial statements. Gotta know those.
Understand the business. How healthy is it, really?
Make your choices based on data, not just hype.
And of course, one of his big things, convert that earned income, your job money, into passive income, portfolio income.
Stuff that keeps making money without you working all the time.
For freedom.
And Kiyosaki has this idea, kind of deep, that teaching is a way to receive.
What's that mean?
Like when you share your knowledge, help others succeed, it comes back to you somehow.
Makes the world a better place, too.
He even tells this story about how he taught his son to invest by giving him money to trade stocks.
I remember that one, yeah. Gave him $3,000.
With a rule. Can't buy a car directly.
Had to invest it, grow it to $6,000.
Then he could get the car. The original $3,000 went into his college fund.
Smart. Teaches responsibility, that growth mindset.
Empowering the next generation.
And lastly, Kiyosaki talks about overcoming inertia.
We get stuck doing things the same way, even if it's not working.
Got to break out of that rut, try new things.
Challenge your assumptions.
Always be growing, improving.
So, to sum up, Kiyosaki's saying the key is building that financial intelligence.
Then use it to create those assets that make money for you.
It's about working smarter, not just harder.
And having that strong why, that deeper purpose for wanting wealth.
It's not just about the money itself. It's about what it enables.
Right. And he's big on controlling your spending, too, your debt.
Most folks are stuck, working for money to pay bills, never getting ahead.
You gotta break out of that cycle, reduce those expenses, pay down debt, and invest in those income-producing assets.
Take control of your finances. Don't let them control you.
And pay yourself first, always.
Make sure you're taking care of your own financial future.
It's a whole different way of thinking.
And surround yourself with the right people, those who support your goals.
Mentors, yeah, people who've been there.
Don't listen to those who are always negative, predicting doom and gloom.
Create that positive, supportive environment.
And have a plan.
Not just, I want to be rich, but like, how are you going to get there?
Write it down, your financial plan, review it, adjust it.
It's your roadmap to success.
Ultimately, Kiyosaki's message is one of empowerment.
Anyone can do this, he says, achieve financial freedom.
But you got to be willing to learn, take action, and not give up.
No get-rich-quick stuff here. This is the long game.
It's about building a solid foundation for lasting wealth.
His book's full of insights, advice, stories.
And he challenges you to think about how it applies to you.
What's stopping you, he asks.
Makes you confront your own beliefs, what's holding you back.
He also asks, what would you do if you had all the money you needed?
That gets you thinking about your real dreams, what you'd do if you were truly free.
And his final call to action, take control of your financial future.
Build your own path to wealth.
It's within your reach, he says.
But you got to step out of your comfort zone challenge what you think you know, and never stop learning.
It's about taking ownership, becoming the master of your own financial destiny.
And that brings us to another key part of his philosophy, overcoming those obstacles.
The things that trip people up, stop them from succeeding.
He lays out 5 big ones: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance.
We've touched on some of these already, but let's dig deeper.
Starting with fear. Fear of losing money, taking risks, failing.
And even fear of success, sometimes that holds people back too.
It's weird, right? But some folks are scared of what happens if they do achieve their goals.
The responsibility, the change, all that.
Kiyosaki says, embrace failure. It's a chance to learn.
He wants you to think like a Texan, he says. If you're going to go broke, go big.
Don't be afraid to try, even if you mess up. That's how you learn.
Then there's cynicism that can really kill your dreams.
Cynics, they're always focused on why something won't work instead of looking for how it could.
Always criticizing and dismissing new ideas before even trying.
Kiyosaki wants you to be a winner. Analyze a situation, find the opportunities even when it's tough.
Like that fixing toilets example, remember? Shows how cynicism can blind you.
Yeah, folks complain about real estate. I don't want to fix toilets. But that's missing the point.
They're so stuck on the negative, they miss the potential.
It's all about your perspective. Why won't it work? Versus, how can I make it work?
That's the difference between a cynic and a winner.
Then you've got laziness, sneaky one that...
Kiyosaki's even saying busy people are often the laziest.
Because they use being busy as an excuse to avoid doing the hard stuff, the stuff that actually builds wealth.
Always running around, but not making real progress.
And saying, I can't afford it? That's mental laziness too, he says.
Because it shuts down your brain from finding solutions.
It's about being proactive, taking charge of your financial life, wouldn't you say?
For sure. Kiyosaki wants you to shift your mindset.
From I can't to how can I?
Engage your brain, find creative ways, don't just accept your circumstances.
Then there's bad habits. Those are tough to break.
Kiyosaki makes a big point. Your life is a reflection of your habits even more than your education.
He uses Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example. That physique didn't happen by accident.
Years of discipline, consistency.
That's how you got to approach your finances too.
Building wealth, it's not luck. It's about those good habits, saving, investing, managing expenses.
Doing it consistently over time.
And his big one, pay yourself first.
Most folks pay everyone else first, the government, the landlord, the credit card companies.
Then they're like, where'd all my money go?
You got to shift your priorities, build that financial discipline.
As your future, your responsibility.
Remember that story where Kiyosaki learned this from his rich dad?
Oh, yeah. Powerful story.
He was working for free, felt cheated, naturally.
But his rich dad explained paying himself first, even a small amount, it's about the discipline, the mindset.
Showing yourself that you're worth investing in.
And then there's arrogance. Kiyosaki says that's the most dangerous one.
Because it blinds you to your own weaknesses, stops you from learning and growing.
Arrogant people, they think they know it all.
So they're not open to new ideas, new ways of doing things.
Kiyosaki says they often use arrogance to hide their ignorance.
They're scared to admit they don't know something, so they pretend they've got all the answers.
Dangerous, especially with money. You got to keep learning.
Never stop learning in this game.
So we've talked about the obstacles, but what about specific actions? Kiyosaki has a ton of advice on that.
And we'll dive into those actionable steps right after this.
All right, so we've talked mindset, we've talked obstacles. We even got into some of Kiyosaki's more unusual advice.
Yeah, the guy's not afraid to shake things up, that's for sure.
But let's get down to brass tacks. What can someone actually do, starting today, based on all this rich dad, poor dad stuff?
It can feel overwhelming, right?
Totally. Like, okay, great ideas, but where do I even begin?
Kiyosaki would say, start with yourself.
Like looking in the mirror?
Kinda, yeah. Take stock. Really look at your finances. Where are you at?
Living paycheck to paycheck.
Are you buying more stuff that costs you money than stuff that makes you money?
Gotta be honest with yourself first. See the starting point.
Then, education. Big time. Kiyosaki's a broken record on this, but he's right.
Read those personal finance books. Take that investing course, whatever's out there.
There's a ton of resources these days. Kiyosaki's own website, his company, they've got stuff.
Find what works for you and commit to it, to learning more.
And don't think you need a ton of money to start investing either.
Like that story he tells, buying that little house for $20,000. That was the beginning of his real estate empire.
He calls it planting seeds in your asset column. Some will grow big, some won't, but you got to plant them.
Keep learning, keep trying new things, expand your horizons, as they say.
Mentors too, right? Find people who've already done what you want to do.
People who can show you the ropes.
Ask questions, learn from their mistakes, benefit from their experience.
And when you've learned something, pass it on. Help someone else. Mentorship goes both ways.
Above all, take action.
Can't just read about it. Gotta do it.
Start small, make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Keep moving forward.
Kiyosaki, he's big on challenging the conventional wisdom, you know.
Like, when he says houses aren't always assets, that blew some people's minds.
Makes you think differently, doesn't it?
Apply that kind of critical thinking to your own finances.
And don't forget those 4 skills he talks about for your financial IQ.
Accounting, investing, understanding the markets, even the law.
Those are crucial for building wealth, but you probably didn't learn them in school.
So it's on you to learn them. Make it a lifelong thing.
This financial world, it's always changing. Got to keep up.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's the big takeaway for you?
You know, this book, it's made people really think about money, about wealth.
But the core of it, it's about taking control, right? Building those assets, getting financially smarter.
It's not just being a consumer. It's about creating wealth. Understand how money works. Become fluent in that language, like Kiyosaki says.
It makes you think, which of those two dads are you more like?
Are you on that traditional path, or are you actively building something for yourself?
Something to think about, that's for sure, as you go on your own financial journey.
And one last thing to chew on. Kiyosaki talks a lot about real estate, but what about other stuff?
Other ways to build wealth.
Yeah, things maybe he didn't even talk about. Digital assets, online businesses. Who knows what the future holds?
That's the exciting part. If you're open to new ideas, and keep learning.
The possibilities are huge.
Just stay curious, stay informed, and never stop learning.
Your financial future is yours to create.